Hi guys, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. First of all, here is a shout out to my students, Asunoka, Mademo, and Chuba. They are students of class 11B Science and they asked me for a shout out here. So hi, I hope this made you happy. So today I'll be teaching from the literature textbook, class 12 and BSc, chapter 9, The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So this poem, it gives us a record of the most devastating historical military engagement that happened during the Crimean War. It gives us details of the most famous and ill-fated event that happened in the British military history. So what happened was there was a war that was being fought between Russia on the other hand and the Allied forces. Who are the Allied forces? The British, France, and the Ottoman Empire. So it was actually an Allied attempt to capture the port and fortress of the Russia's naval base of at Sevastopol, that was in the Black Sea. So the Russians, they split their troops, they split their forces and defended themselves within the lines. And the Allied forces, on the other hand, they had also positioned their troops on various defense lines. The French on the west coast, the British light cavalry on the south of Balaclava, and the Ottomans on the first line of defense, and there was also British heavy brigade. All right, remember that there was a heavy brigade positioned in different areas, so there was a British heavy brigade as well as British light brigade. So what is light cavalry or light brigade? So the light brigade, the British light brigade, they were unarmored. They are not armed with weapons. They do not have guns or cannons with them to attack the enemy. And light cavalry troops are usually mounted on horses. You know, they're on the horse and they have their swords with them, or not armed at all with weapons. So the light brigade, the British light brigade, their task was something else. Their task was not to go for frontal assault to attack the enemy, but because of a miscommunication of the higher-ups. The British Light Brigade was under Lord Raglan during that time, and because of his miscommunication, that, you know, the 600 men, the noble 600 men, had to obey the orders, and they had to sacrifice themselves. And remember here that the Ottomans were guarding, they were on the first line of defense. So as they had to retreat, the Russians moved forward to the second line of defense, and the British Heavy Brigade, who was under General James Scarlett, they defeated the enemy to a greater proportion, but they also did not have sufficient troop to fight the 25,000 Russian soldiers attacking them. So what happened? The Russians took advantage of the situation and they crossed the thin line. And because of an error made by Lord Raglan, it led to one of the most famous and disastrous, tragic event in the history of British military. So that is what this poem is about, written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Tennyson is one of the greatest poets of the Victorian period. Yes, and he was a poet laureate during Queen Victoria's reign, and he published this particular poem 6 weeks after the disastrous thing that happened in British military history. And now that I have given you the background of the poem, I would straight away take you to the poem. I would read out some stanzas and explain it to you. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. So half a league here means a distance of about 1 mile. So the 600 light brigade rode, they were half the distance towards the enemy, approaching the enemy. And the enemy is ready with the cannons, their guns, weapons all surrounding them, to their left, cannon to the left, to the right, in front of them. And them, they are on the horses, all they have is their sword. Okay, but the command was given from the higher up. They were given commands, charge for the guns. they had to charge for the gun. They had to ride forward, okay? Even though they knew it was, it was murder for them. They knew they will be going into the mouth of hell, into the valley of death. So the poet is making use of the poetic device metaphor, comparing hell to that of the situation that was happening to the noble 600. And here, valley of death also gives us visual imagery. We can imagine, we can picture the intense situation that was happening. And so they made their charge against the enemy. They made its charge under withering direct fire. Next stanza. Forward the Light Brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why. There's but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. So in the second stanza, we learn the duties of a soldier, the responsibilities of a soldier. What is the duty of a soldier? The soldiers live a very disciplined life. Their job is to protect their country, is to fight for their country, and to give their lives for the country. And they are to obey the commands of the higher ups. And that is exactly what the 600 soldiers did, despite knowing that they are going to lose their lives. And this is exactly what they did. They were not discouraged. They knew that there has been a blunder made by someone. They knew that someone has made a mistake on giving the command for them to charge. But it was not for them to question why so. It was not for them to give a reply, okay? But it was their duty to obey the rule, the command, to do it, and even to lay down their lives. And that is what they did. And they rode into the valley of death, the 600 noble soldiers. So now the third stanza. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. Boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. So in the third stanza, we get to see a very dramatic visual as well as auditory imagery, okay? So cannon to the right of them, to the left of them, cannon in front of them as they were approaching the enemies, So we see a very visual picture. We get a visual picture. At the same time, we also get an auditory imagery. The sound of the cannons thundering, volleying from every angle, from the left, from the right, from the front. That was being shot, that was being stormed at them, bombed at them, thundering, But what did they do? They did not stop. They boldly rode forward. And here, stormed at with shot and shell, we get to see the poetic device alliteration. Stormed, shot, shell, alliteration. Boldly they rode and well into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Now here, jaws of death, we also get to see the poetic device personification, as if like the noble 600 were rode into the mouth, into the jaws of somebody, someone who is ready to devour you. So personification, we also see personification. At the same time, we see metaphor to emphasize the danger that was faced by the soldiers. Next stanza. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabring the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. So what do we understand from here? We get to see a picture of the 600 noble soldiers, with their swords. Saber here means a heavy cavalry sword or a curved blade that is used to slay the enemy. So they rode into the fire, heavy fire that was gunfire, smoke, the cannons that was exploding. They rode into the battery smoke, and they managed to slay their enemy with their sabers, with their swords, with their blade. They managed to slay them despite the non-stop attack from their right, from the left, from the front. They still managed to slay the gunners there. And while that happened, the world wondered at the bravery of the noble 600 British light cavalry. And here the Russians had the support of the Cossack as well. And who are Cossack? It's a member of Ukrainian members who are noted for their horsemanship, okay, and their military skill. So they were attacking. They had good skills, military skills. They attacked. But what happened? The 600 noble British Light Brigade, they immersed through the heavy gunfire, smoke, and they even crossed the enemy line, and they managed to slay the Cossack, the Russians. And the Russians, the enemies, the Cossack, they reeled, they dripped, their blood dripped. They reeled from the stroke of the blade of the sword. Then they attacked with the sword, with the blade, and they rode back. But what happened this time? The 600 came and attacked. And they did attack, but when they went back, it was not the 600 anymore. Only few of them were able to return. Only few of them were able to make it out of such valley of death. Last second stanza. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. While horse and hero fail, they that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. This is exactly what I was talking about. So after they managed to slay their enemies, stroke them with their, shatter them with their sword, with their blade, they managed to return. But what happened? In the midst of returning, cannons were being shot at them from the right, from the left, and now from behind. Since they're returning, the cannons are, they have their backs facing the cannon. So it was attacked. They were attacked from all angles. So while in the midst of such gunfire explosion of cannon, horses fail, heroes fail. And even though the 600 rode, only few were left. Only few of them managed to return. Last stanza. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered, honored the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade, noble 600. So that is how the poem ends. So Alfred Lord Tennyson, the poet, here wanted to immortalize the bravery, the courage that the noble 600 showed. Why noble? Because they demonstrated high moral principles. Okay, that is why they are still worthy of honor. They are still worthy of honor and respect, and their glory will never fade. Okay, their sacrifices, the way they bravely fought such a wild attack. So they're still worthy of honor, and their bravery should be forever remembered. And that is what the poet wanted to do when he wrote this poem. He wanted to immortalize their bravery, their courage, and he calls them noble 600. Okay, so this poem is a tribute to the noble 600, the poet emphasizing or reminding the world of the noble 600. And there's one more poetic device which I missed out, is onomatopoeia. What is an onomatopoeia? Here, volleyed, thundered. Okay, for example, M-E-O-W, meow, meow. Meow is literally the sound that a cat does. Okay, so onomatopoeia is a word that imitates the sound. All right, so here, thunder or volleyed is an example of onomatopoeia. That is exactly the sound of the gunshots, thundering sound of the guns. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, like that, thundering. Okay, so that is onomatopoeia for you in simple words. You need to keep in mind the poetic devices, alliteration. There's a lot of repetition. There is a lot of visual imagery, auditory imagery, onomatopoeia, metaphor, personification. So please be very mindful of the poetic devices as you prepare for your exams. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back very soon with another video that can help you prepare for your exams. Thank you so much. Bye.